Let's get it rolling with Randy. How did you get involved with football as a kid?
Oh man, football in East Texas or Texas in general, that was I won't say it was a religion, but it was a close second to religion. And football was something my whole family was involved with. My dad, he wasn't a coach, but he should have been a coach, and he coached us all the way through up until structured programs. And then my brother, he was a great football player too, went off and played at Southern Arkansas. So, football was just part of our family, part of everybody's family back then.
For sure, man. Besides your dad, who else were your sports role models? And your brother?
Well, my brother being one of them, yeah. But, I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I was watching Roger Staubach and Don Meredith and Bob Hayes and all those great players that the Cowboys used to have on their team. And I didn't really get serious about football probably until my junior year in high school, when I started seeing the scouts come around. Football was just something that came easy for me. It was natural. And, not that I didn't have to try hard and work hard, but it just came easy for me.
Heck yeah, man. So scrolling it forward a little bit, the NFL transition, how did Baylor help you transition to the next level and prepare you?
Well, the fact that I had the opportunity to play with a lot of guys at Baylor who went on to get drafted, so they were that caliber of player. So, I was used to seeing Mike Singletary, every day in practice. I was used to going against Van McElroy and all the great defensive players that Baylor put out. So, when I got to the NFL, everybody was so much bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter. But I was already kind of used to that. And hopefully I was a little bigger, faster, smarter,
Yes, sir. So with the NFL, when you got there to that point, what was the hardest part about the transition? And how did you overcome those difficult moments?
Well, I think the first thing I learned when I got to the pros was that it wasn't a sport anymore. It was a job. So, the difficult part was all the studying that went into it and all the film preparation. And, when you're not out on the field, you're in the film room and you're watching games and you're studying tendencies and preparing for your next opponent that you only have a few days to get ready for. You're putting in changes in your offense, and it's definitely not a game for somebody who doesn't pick up things very fast. Because there's always I call them audibles. There's always audibles going on all week long. Because depending on the opponent's defense, you constantly have to change your offense to counter that.
Heck yeah, man.
And not to mention just the practices, when you're practicing against great players every day, it's you certainly aren't used to that in college.
For sure. They're always, like you mentioned, bigger, stronger, faster. And those defensive ends come at you pretty quick off the edge.
Yeah. I played back in an era where they could club you, so those clubs to the side of the head were pretty common back then. But, we as offensive linemen were able to get away with a lot more too back then.
Heck yeah, with the chipping and all that stuff, man.
Chipping, the leg whipping, and pretty much everything.
For sure, man. So
anything goes back then.
Heck yeah, it was a dirty game, man.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. So life after football for you, Randy, how have you applied the trials and tribulations of the game of football to your personal life?
Well, I think I'm a pretty disciplined person. You wouldn't know that based on my 20-year addiction to pain pills. But, I like to think that I'm a pretty disciplined disciplined person. When I set my mind to something, you know, I'll do whatever it takes to get there. You know, the routine of it all, you know, I think that I apply that to my daily life too. You know, there's not, when I talk about transitioning out of the league, there's not a lot that you do on a daily basis that compares to what you were doing back then. You know, you're not as accountable to be at practice at a certain time, to know a certain play or to know a certain section of the playbook, to make sure you've worked out, you know, in the weight room before you go out on the practice field, to make sure that you're in that training room taking care of any injuries that you might have had before practice starts. So there's not a lot that really compares to being in the National Football League on a daily basis. You know, what I really miss the most is not the game, but the locker room. You know, I miss being in that locker room with the guys, that camaraderie, that brotherhood, and all that stuff. And, you know, through recovery, I've gotten that back.
Yes, sir. So my next two questions are brought to you by B&D Sports Media, and they include the creamsicles, the Bucs.
Right. Best uniforms in the league, man, with the winking pirate.
Heck yeah,
Buccaneer Bruce.
How will the Bucs look to limit the damage of losing TB12, him retiring?
Wow, you know, they're going to have to spend a lot of money on a really good quarterback, and you know that there's some out there, but who knows if they're going to be a good fit. You know, we got lucky with Brady. You know, I didn't worry so much that he, you know, I mean, he's a great player, but I wondered before he got here if he had enough left in the tank. Of course, he proved me wrong. You know, he had plenty left in the tank. But I think it's going to be more. I mean, we can go out and sign a good quarterback, but I think it's going to be more up to the executive team of how many of those free agents they're able to keep together. You know, last year they were able to sign everybody, bring them all back, keep that team intact, and look what happened. They had a great 21. Whether or not they can do that again, I'm not so sure.
Yes, sir. I think that's the reason why Tom Brady chose to hang the cleats up, man. Like,
well, and you know, I'm really surprised he came back last year, because I can remember his wife going up to him after the Super Bowl and asking him, "What else do you have to prove?" And so it probably started back then with her and the kids, and really, what else does he have to prove? You know, an 8th ring.
He's the GOAT. Hey, he always says it's always the next one, so don't put it past him.
Well, and he hasn't officially retired, so who knows?
Hey, he's still on their books, I think, for one more year. So
yeah, he's under contract, and you know, I think they've got till June to declare him either retired, reserve, or whatever.
Definitely, man. Yeah,
I think I'm interested to know what Gronk's going to do.
I think he's a free agent too, so
yes,
it's up in the air. So my next question is a good one. Sign one, tag one, and let them walk, the other one. Chris Godwin, Ryan Jensen, the center, and cornerback Carlton Davis.
I don't think you let any of those guys walk. Probably, well.
That's a tough one, huh?
You know, yeah, I guess I would tag Jensen. You know, I think it's important that you keep that guy in the middle. He's a leader. Guys respect him. He's a heck of a player. He's a motivator. You know, he's one of those guys that kind of sets the tone for the game. So he's been healthy. Don't have to worry about him getting hurt that much. I think you tag him.
Heck yeah. Who would you sign and who would you let walk in free agency?
Wow, there's so many of them. You know, I probably let Pierre Paul go. I mean, that's probably going to happen anyway. Um,
But between the two guys that I mentioned, Chris Godwin and
yeah, I don't know, maybe a good one.
definitely,
You know, because of just because he's injury prone.
definitely. I think with those three guys that I mentioned, sign one, tag one, let one walk. I think Chris or Ryan Jensen's probably going to get tagged to help
Yeah,
help the second year quarterback in Kyle Trask. I think he's probably going to be your starter for next year with Tampa.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's ready, but whoever it is, they definitely need to keep that. They need to go all out and keep that offensive line intact. I mean, that's the one area you don't want a lot of inconsistency. And, you know, those guys have played together a couple of years now, and, you know, they're really gelling as a unit. And that's important. I mean, you got a lot of great individuals on there. But when you're talking about the offensive line, you know, they really need to gel as a unit and know what the guy next to him is going to do, what he's thinking, how he's going to react. And, you know, that takes time. So, yeah. Yeah, I'd tag Jensen.
For sure. So, Randy, I'll end on this one. Where can my audience find you on social media?
Oh, wow. If you can't find me, you're not looking very hard. I'm on Twitter. I'm on at Sober Center 60. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. Hey, and you can go in my book. We didn't talk about my book yet, but my book came out last Tuesday. It's already a bestseller. It's #1 in over 6 categories. It's called Off Center. And it's the story of my substance abuse and how it started while I was a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then I took that into my private life, and for the next 20 plus years, you know, struggled with that. And so I talk about that. You can find the book. It's offcenterthebook.com, and it'll take you straight to the Amazon link, or you can just go to Amazon and get on Off Center by Randy Grimes. You can find me at proathletesinrecovery.org, and also check out my substance abuse, drug and alcohol treatment center, White Sands Treatment Center here in Tampa, Florida.
Yes, sir. Well, Randy Grimes, it's been a blessing to have you on Sports Talk and the Success Table, and we welcome you back for another one, my friend.